And then we'll start to shift gears here and talk about our immune system and our immune health. So we will not really get into much depth here in the immune system in this chapter, but kind of just a nice helpful overview and kind of a summary of some of all these micronutrients we've talked about and how they support the immune system. So in the immune system, right, this is the part of the body that helps protect us from infectious diseases. It helps us to heal our wounds, and potentially it guards against cancer development. We can basically say that we have sort of two parts to the immune system: our non-specific or our innate immune system, and we have our specific or our adaptive immune system. So non-specific is all of basically our primary defense mechanisms. So these actually really are happening all of the time. Our non-specific immune system is basically working all day. So our primary defenses against microbes, bacteria, viruses, airborne particles, toxins in the air, snake venom, and any ingested toxins that come in through our food. So again, nonspecific is also called innate because it's the type of immunity that we're born with. So different parts of the body that act in nonspecific immunity. Any mucous membranes, so your eyes, your nose, the back of your throat, even your vagina, and then skin, so your integumentary system. Also your stomach acid, remember we talked about the hydrochloric acid in the stomach helps to destroy any ingested toxins that come in with the food. Again, your tears, so again, your eyes are mucous membranes. Your saliva also, remember, has antibacterial components in it. And then actions, so like coughing, sneezing, vomiting, diarrhea. These are also actions of the innate immune system or non-specific. So again, they're non-specific, meaning that it's your immune system reacting to general, it's just general defense. It's not specific to any type of foreign particle. So coughing, sneezing, vomiting, diarrhea, these again are all ways that would try to expel that foreign particle from your body. Nonspecific immunity does use some of our immune cells, so macrophages, neutrophils, and natural killer cells. We're also going to see cytokines, which are chemicals that work in the inflammatory response. And so with nonspecific immunity, we can see some of the pain associated with inflammation. We can also see loss of appetite, fatigue, and fever. These would be very typical symptoms of nonspecific immune function. Here's just a nice picture of a macrophage engulfing an invading microbe. So this kind of gelatinous looking thing would be the macrophage, and all these little pill-shaped things would be the microbes. And then we have our specific, or what's often called our adaptive immune system. So specific because this part of the immune system will actually recognize certain components on the foreign cells, and we call those components antigens. So our bodies will recognize these antigens on foreign, again, foreign bacteria, foreign viruses, and will act specifically against those antigens. So again, just a little bit of overview of the immune system here. We have two types of specific immune cells. So we have B cells and we have T cells. B cells actually work in kind of identifying that antigen. So once we're exposed to an antigen, B cells can actually form memory cells, and memory cells will remain in our circulation theoretically for our lifetime, so that if we're ever exposed to that same antigen a subsequent time, we can react to it very quickly because we already remember how to respond to it. And this is really how vaccines work, actually. B cells can also form something called plasma cells, And plasma cells are the type of B cell that produce the antibody. So the antibody is the part of our immune system that can work on that specific antigen and actually help to activate the T cells, which are the immune cells that will actually try to destroy or deactivate the foreign particle. So T cells, we also have two types. We have cytotoxic and we have helper T cells. So cytotoxic, again, cyto meaning cell, toxic meaning toxic. So toxic to the cell. So cytotoxic T cells will destroy foreign particles. Helper T cells actually help to activate other macrophages from our innate immune system. Helper T cells also activate the B cells to form memory cells and more plasma cells, more antibodies. And then helper cells can also activate more cytotoxic T cells. So we can acquire a specific immunity in a few different ways. Again, vaccination is a form of acquiring specific immunity. Exposure, firsthand exposure to a foreign microbe would elicit specific immunity. We can also receive antibodies from our mothers, so from breast milk even, if we're breastfeeding. So we can acquire specific immunity that way. And then we can also acquire specific immunity from anti-serum injections, like if we get a snake bite. So that's just a sort of a super quick Cliff Notes overview of the immune system. So now we can kind of talk a little bit about when and where we see immune system malfunction, basically, and what the results might be. So when the immune system malfunctions, we might see that chronic inflammation, and we are also going to be more susceptible to infection. So when and why would the immune system malfunction? Allergic reactions are basically a malfunction of the immune system. Autoimmune disorders are also basically a malfunctioning immune system. When we're malnourished, so if we're not getting the right nutrition into our bodies, our immune system will also be weaker. And then immunodeficiency diseases, of course, are also going to result in a weakened immune system. And now we'll say a little bit about how nutrition supports the immune system. So again, a healthful diet is providing all of the nutrients that support the immune system. Single nutrient subclinical, so hard to notice deficiencies, can cause subtle abnormalities in the immune system. So even just one missing nutrient can affect how the whole immune system works. And then we'll also say a little bit more about protein energy malnutrition. This is protein energy malnutrition, meaning specifically not getting enough protein, can also reduce immune function. And then, of course, severe micronutrient deficiencies can reduce immune function. Infections can also affect nutrient status. So again, the total, the current status in the body of different nutrients. So infections can alter nutrient status by decreasing appetite. So depending on the illness or the infection, we might have reduced appetite, and therefore we're going to not take in enough calories or enough nutrients. Depending on the infection, there may also be diarrhea, vomiting, or inflammation. So that's also going to use up or cause us to lose nutrients. We also see an increased metabolic rate if there's a fever, right? Fever is actually contributing to, well, actually the increased metabolic rate is causing the fever, right? Higher body temperatures, more metabolic activity. So that's also going to chew up our nutrients more so. And then we might also, we're going to pull certain nutrients out of storage, or even pull nutrients from different parts of the body to enhance the immune response. So at the end of the immune response, again, that can result in poor nutrient status in certain parts of the body. So here's protein energy malnutrition. So we haven't said this a ton, but many of our immune cells are protein-based cells. So if we don't have enough protein coming into the body, we're going to see a reduced immune response because we don't have proper cells or proper amounts of cells to have a fully functioning immune response. In particular, children who are experiencing a protein energy malnutrition or deficiency, we're going to see specifically reduced antibody production and then reduced ability of those cytotoxic T cells or macrophages to kill bacteria or other foreign invaders. So we'll see decreased immunocompetence, so basically decreased competency of the immune system. And this can be basically a pretty direct indicator of reduced nutrient status in the body. Obesity can also affect our immune system. So when we see obesity, we see basically a prolonged or that chronic inflammatory state, right? So what we're going to see is increased incidence of infection, delayed wound healing, and poor antibody response to vaccination or even to firsthand exposure to a virus, or poor response to different bacteria. And part of all of that, again, is because of this chronic inflammation. So the immune system is constantly acting, so it's sort of tired, right? It's like if you had to just be running for 24, 48, 72 hours constantly, right? And then suddenly a bear started chasing you, you would already be pretty tired. So you'd have less ability to really run away from that bear or fight the bear or whatever. So that's kind of like what's happening in obesity and other chronic diseases, is we have chronic inflammation, so always happening inflammation. So then suddenly when a specific event happens, we have reduced ability to actually respond to it. So obesity basically can result in more severe asthma symptoms, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, and type 2 diabetes. A little review of our essential fatty acids. So you might remember in the lipids chapter, essential fatty acids are linoleic acid and alpha-linolenic acid. We metabolize these fatty acids into things called eicosanoids, which are basically signaling molecules. So remember, alpha-linolenic acid we convert to EPA and DHA, eicosapentaenoic and docosahexaenoic acids. And these are anti-inflammatory. Remember, these are omega-3s that reduce inflammation. So these can be really helpful in treating chronic inflammation. This is saying supplementing with EPA and DHA, but remember you can also consume EPA and DHA from cold water, saltwater fish, and you can also get good amounts of ALA from flax, chia, and walnuts. So what we've seen is that supplemental treatment using EPA and DHA can actually improve inflammatory conditions such as rheumatoid arthritis, irritable bowel disorders, and cardiovascular diseases. So again, supplementation is one thing. I will always recommend just improving your overall diet by eating the foods that are going to provide these nutrients. And then some of the vitamins and minerals that support healthy inflammatory response and therefore healthy immune system. Vitamin A supports the maintenance of our mucosal surfaces, so that's your innate immune system. Vitamin C and E act as antioxidants, right? So they help neutralize those free radicals. Vitamin D supports our immune system because it supports phagocyte production, so kind of a type of macrophage. And it also can support that anti-inflammatory pathway and seems to support a reduction in the severity of autoimmune disorders. Remember, zinc was also really important for genetic expression and enzyme activation, specifically for B and T cell proliferation. So zinc is really critical to the immune response. Selenium, remember, selenium is also a coenzyme for glutathione peroxidase, another antioxidant system. Selenium also supports B and T cell proliferation along with zinc. And selenium also supports production of those antibodies and the specific immune response. And then we have iron, copper, and manganese. These all work as cofactors for different antioxidant enzymes. and we see that a deficiency in any one of these also reduces the immune response. So they seem to also support that B and T cell functioning. And then interestingly, as we saw, too much iron can actually kind of turn around and have a reverse effect and can actually impair the immune response. And our gut flora is also closely linked to immune health and preventing illnesses. So remember we said that some of those beneficial microbes that live in our intestines, as they metabolize some of our fibers, they produce what are called short chain fatty acids, just like in our conversation about lipids. These are fatty acids that are short chain, so about 4 carbons in the chain. And what we notice is that these get absorbed by the gut enterocytes, and they actually seem to be mediators of the immune response and seem to be anti-inflammatory. So how do we maintain good gut health? Again, variety in what we're eating is one of the most important parts. Fiber, of course, is a critical important part of that. So getting fiber from a variety of different plant foods. Fiber is literally the food that these healthy gut microbes feed on. That's what prebiotic means. It's prebiotic before the bacteria. So it's the food that the bacteria feed on. Fiber is what gets fermented, thus resulting in the production of short-chain fatty acids. You can also consume basically living microorganisms by consuming fermented foods, such as kefir, which is like a fermented milk product, kombucha, tempeh, sauerkraut, and yogurt technically. Okay, so that is it for this chapter, for chapter 12. So as always, thank you for listening, and spend some time with these review questions here just to kind of test your understanding of the content from chapter 12. And also, as always, email me if you do have any questions. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you for chapter 13.